Mr. Evans. This video is going to look at the value of strategic planning, and it's just here in the specification. So the strategic planning process is this whole cycle of setting the mission statement, reviewing the company both inside and outside, setting corporate objectives, creating the strategy, then setting the functional objectives that each functional area needs to achieve, actually implementing the plans and going ahead with it and reviewing the success. So this is really asking us, what is the value of that whole strategic planning process? So number one, the strategic planning process involves, the first thing that you do is you set a clear mission statement so that it's really clear what the organisation is working towards. You then set your objectives, your corporate objectives, which make it even clearer what the organisation is working towards. So that's very helpful. How are you going to know as a company what you're going to, what your purpose is, unless you've gone through that process of actually setting some clear objectives for yourself? The process also encourages a systematic collection of data on both the internal and external environment. In other words, conducting your SWOT analysis, your PESTLE analysis, in order that you as a group of managers and as a company have a really clear idea of what your strengths and weaknesses are, how you can match your strengths to the opportunities in the external environment, and how you can prevent those threats in the external environment taking advantage of your weaknesses. So it encourages a really kind of logical approach to looking at an organisation's strengths and weaknesses and setting the strategy based on that. The strategy needs to be communicated, which has several advantages. First of all, to communicate the strategy clearly, number one, we need to identify our goals and explain the strategy, and then we break it down into its component parts, so we can communicate to all of our workers how they're going to be involved in achieving the strategy. And that has benefits in itself. The fact that we've got to break down this strategy into its component parts allows us to look in detail about what needs to happen as an organisation for us to achieve our strategy. We need to be able to clearly articulate the strategy and ensure that it's going to help us meet our needs. And that process of thinking through how to explain our strategy in the clearest way possible to our shareholders, to our employees, to customers, that helps clarify what the strategy is. And just the act of explaining something makes you think it through, and that is going to make for a better strategy. The strategy might need to be justified. Okay, employees might ask questions. Well, hang on, why have we got that target? Why do you think that this will that me completing this target will help us achieve this goal? Okay, maybe we need to justify our plan to shareholders who might question the strategy. And again, this act of having to justify what you're doing is going to clarify. Identify the weaknesses in the strategy before it's implemented and help you to get rid of them. So the fact that we're communicating the strategy as part of the strategic planning process is very, very helpful in making a better strategy. It's motivational for people to have a goal. People are teleological beings. And if you've studied philosophy, that means people like to have a target to work towards. It becomes motivational. And if you've got a target, you know what you're aiming for, and a strategy to achieve it, that's very motivational in itself. You feel like you're going to get there, and it's going to help the organisation have a better motivated workforce. It also encourages review and flexibility. This final stage of the planning process, where we're reviewing the success of the strategy and adjusting it, is arguably the most important stage. It's all very well having a plan A, but in reality, the external environment is going to change. And to stop us from getting into strategic drift, where the strategy has drifted away from reality, we need to constantly review and be flexible so we can improve our strategy. And that's what this plan versus emergent strategy shows us. The optimum strategy is somewhere between having a really clear planned strategy which creates stability and clarity, but also being able to adapt that strategy, it's a sign of strength, it's a sign of adaptability and innovation. Obviously, we don't want a completely emergent strategy, because then it becomes chaos and confusion because we don't know what's going on. But if we stick to a totally planned strategy, we're going to drift away from the realities of the external environment, and the strategic planning process through that final review stage where we're monitoring the success of the strategy encourages us to review the strategy, adjust it, and then we've got an optimum strategy. Okay, so this is the sort of question that you might get: to what extent does strategic planning guarantee the achievement of corporate objectives? Well, I think my conclusion to that question would be that it doesn't guarantee the achievement of corporate objectives, but the process of strategic planning and review makes strategic drift less likely, and the emergent strategy therefore is more likely to be achieved. We're more likely to be able to evolve as an organisation if we're doing strategic planning and review properly, because we'll adjust to the external organisation. Jack Welch was the CEO of GE, General Electric, huge American company. You can read about on Wikipedia, I think the value of the company increased by 4,000% under his leadership. And what he said about strategy is not a lengthy action plan. It is the evolution of a central idea through continually changing circumstances, and the strategic planning process, including the review section where we adjust, is absolutely key to ensuring an organisation's responsiveness to the external environment and hopefully the achievement of their corporate objectives.